South Carolina, and Florida. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can also download and listen on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on YouTube, you can watch the interview. And coming soon, Mike Wagner Show will be on TLB TV, the Liberty Beacon TV network. You can watch the interview as well, too. We're here with a very fine gentleman that went from Brooklyn to Marietta, Ohio, and on to Williston, North Dakota. Lee Paul, the very versatile actor, who's been in business since 1966, 25 years performing, 30 and over commercials, 75 more in on-camera appearances and TV shows. And we're just talking about Williston, North Dakota, and just the fact that you got the name, and what did you end up doing with it in Williston?
Well, the finish of the Williston, North Dakota story really is that I got, after about 3 months there, and it was 19 below in the winter, and all there were cows and oil wells in my day. Now, Williston today has come back with the shale oil. It's big time again. But then there was nobody there but cows and oil wells, and I got called into the office of Schlumberger, and they said, we've got to tell you something. You're trying to be too funny. And I said, what do you mean too funny? He said, well, you're cracking jokes, and your jokes are better than the guys that own the oil patch. You got to understand, we're there because they let us be there. You can't be the funny man. And I said, whoa, if there's nothing but cows and oil wells and 19 below and I can't even crack a joke, I'm not sure this is this is where I want to be. And they said, you know what? We agree. And so they gave me a Broadway or bust party, and I left the environs of Williston, North Dakota, and wound up back in Brooklyn, living with my family for a while. So I'll let you ask a different question, but that's my Williston, North Dakota story.
That is amazing, too, and I think there's like a huge gap in there as well, too, that I did some sportscasting for Keys Radio 660, where what happened was that, the people were looking for a replacement sportscaster because the guy up there, Ralph Lockwood, had some health issues, and they're looking for one. They come to me and goes, hey, interested in doing play-by-play? I said, yeah, sure. What do I do? So I had to just get all my things prepared to do a couple of football games, and then by the time the first football game was ready to begin, I got word that he passed away, and I went, oh, my gosh, I'm sweating bullets, and here I am. It's like I honestly have never heard the guy do any play-by-play. I can't find any files. I just look up some information. They said, okay, we got it covered. They put together a montage, and now we throw it to you, and everything was great. And then I did in honor of Ralph Lockwood, 50 years up in Williston, North Dakota. And then when it came to basketball, they got a replacement, and it turned out that his hernia surgery had backfired. So I went, okay, it's like I'm replacing two sick people, and here I am just pull off a wonderful job. And I took my family up there and, just show them the places. I mean, there's a lot of hotels. You have a lot of restaurants. And, of course, just along the strip, it's like it's all full of stores, strip malls, and everything else. And I have to say this, the trip up to Williston is very, very interesting. Oil well after oil well after oil well. And, of course, stop frequently. It's like, just take a break or whatever. So the one thing I have to advise is drink a lot of coffee, I'll tell you that.
Right.
That is amazing, too. I've been up in North Dakota since 2007 as well, too. So I have to say this, everything's changed. It's bigger, bustling, booming, and I just love what I do, up here. But it's like we're not just catering to people in North Dakota. It's like we're catering to people just nationwide, globally as well, too. But then going from Williston to North Dakota and then back to Marietta, and so what did you end up doing back in Marietta? Did you get into another position? Did you get?
No, I didn't go back. I didn't go back to Marietta. They shipped me off to New York, so I wound up back in Brooklyn.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know why I was thinking Marietta, but Brooklyn. So just continue on that. So.
Okay, well it looks like we're going to use most of my time in the early years, but that's okay if the audience finds it entertaining. So here I am, living at home. And there was a rumor that Gregory Peck had been discovered as an usher at the Radio City Music Hall.
Really?
Now, the Radio City Music Hall was one of the great movie palaces of all time, 6,000 seats, a huge it's a block big. There's a whole world. You can work at the Radio Music Hall and never go outside. I mean, they have cleaners and they have food and they've got places to sleep, everything. Anyway, the point is, it was a lie. Gregory Peck was not discovered at Radio Music Hall, but I didn't know that. So I wound up becoming an usher at Radio City Music Hall. And I think I remember seeing Breakfast at Tiffany's like 27 times. I fell in love with Hepburn as well as the whole world. And one of the times I ushered in the world of Susie Wong, Nancy Kwong, in the world of Susie Wong, which was a big show with William Holden. And anyway, I found that was not the reason that Gregory Peck got into show business. So after a winter at Radio City Music Hall, I decided maybe there's something else better for me, and I started to do what they call make the rounds, going around trying to get a job. Now, my father, I'm living at home, and my father looks at me one day and says, "How come you're not in the military?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I guess they don't know where I am." The next week, they knew where I was. He turned me in. So,
oh my!
I don't hear any exclamation, but he actually turned me in. And then what happened was, very quickly, I got drafted in the Army. Now I'm a graduate with a petroleum engineering degree, and here I am going to be in the trenches. And I said, I don't think so. So I went into an Air Force recruiting station and said, I'd like to be in the Air Force. I'm a college graduate, and I'd like to become an officer in the graduate. They said, in the Air Force. They said, no problem. I said, well, there was one problem. I just got drafted in the Army. They said, no problem. And that's why I wound up in the Air Force, and then I wound up going to Lackland Air Force Base and becoming an officer. Now, there's a few more stories. I don't want to spend the whole interview just in my beginnings, but what happened was I'm now in Reno, Nevada after Lackland. Mm-hmm. And in Reno, Nevada at Stead Air Force Base. I think they do still have some pylon plane racing at Stead Air Force Base today. Mm-hmm. But because of my wanting to be in show business, I was in Air Defense Command. Air Defense Command is where controllers try to bring planes together so they shoot each other down. Weapons, that's a weapons controller. Aircraft controller in civilian life tries to keep them apart so they don't run into each other. But anyway, I was there in Williston, North Dakota, and I wound up auditioning for what is the Air Force equivalent to the USO, which is called Serenade in Blue at that time. And I wound up going around the country as the MC and the singer for Serenade in Blue.
Nice.
Now, one day, some general says, or major or whatever, says, "Where's this guy Kroll?" And they said, "Oh, I think he's in Tennessee." What the hell is he doing in Tennessee? He's supposed to be here. So they quickly got me back to back to Reno, Nevada. And because I was a bad boy and hadn't done my due diligence in Reno, they shipped me to King Salmon, Alaska, because you mentioned that.
I was just going to talk about that, yes.
That's why I wound up in King Salmon, Alaska for a year. And then after a year in underground at King Salmon, Alaska, I wound up back on the West Coast, and I came to Hollywood in 65, 66, and that's where my career in Hollywood started.
That is amazing, too. Before we get to your Hollywood career in 65, 66, tell us about what's it like in King Salmon, Alaska, and where is it closest to what city, and where is it located approximately? That's a very interesting place, King Salmon, Alaska.
Well, King Salmon, Alaska got its name because in those days, in the 60s, the average salmon catch was 60 pounds.
Wow.
60 pounds. I mean, they've fished out all that and the huge, gigantic king crab. But if you take the Aleutian chain, which is like a little spot and then gets wider and wider and wider and wider till it butts into the actual state of Alaska, right there is King Salmon, Alaska. Now, King Salmon, Alaska is about 300 miles from Russia over the Bering Strait there. And that's another story because we used to play cat and mouse. We'd scramble our jets, they'd scramble our jets, and we'd play tag back and forth across the Bering Straits to see who would be chicken first. And I got a great story about that, but I won't go that. But we're about 3 or 4, as I remember, 300 or 400 miles from Fairbanks, but it's down in the southern part of Alaska at the base of the Aleutian chain, which was important for us during World War II. But this was that. In fact, Bob Hopewell wrote a book about it. I think it was called King Salmon Owes Me $60 or something like that.
Really?
He played there in the USO tours during the war.
That is amazing, too. King Salmon, Alaska, owes $60. Was that in reference to like 60 pounds or something, or did someone actually own 60? I said
the salmon, the average salmon weight was 60 pounds.
Okay.
In other words, the fish were huge in those days. And I don't think there's very many 60-pound salmons around there anymore because 40 years of overfishing has killed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something, too. We'll talk more about King Salmon every time we fit in. We'll also get into how you started Hollywood. First of all, you listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking a budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable, custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Evan Fine of the Senior Reserve Group. When you start thinking about retirement, who do you can call about Medicare? Why call the best? Evan Fine of Senior Reserve Group, specializing in Medicare, health, and long-term care insurance. Evan can be reached at 1-800-650-9357. That's 1-800-650-9357, or email to evanfine@seniorreservegroup.com. Evan is licensed in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, South Carolina, and Florida. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. Also, check our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can also download and listen on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Watch the interview on YouTube as well, and coming soon to TLB TV, The Mike Wagner Show on the Liberty Beacon TV network. You can also watch the interview as well, too. That's coming soon. You can also check back later on as well. We're here with Brooklyn-based and veteran actor since 1966, Lee Paul, of course, going from Brooklyn over to Marietta, Ohio, then over to Williston, North Dakota, then over to Reno, Tennessee, King Salmon, Alaska, and now he's come to where in Hollywood in 1966, and this is where you got started. You can just get us started.
Well, before I go on, I'd like to do a little pitch for myself because I've been listening to yours.
Absolutely.
If your audience can go to YouTube, I just finished a 2-hour on-camera interview called The Jeff and Yankee Show. That's Jeff and Janki Show on YouTube. If they go to YouTube and look for The Jeff and Yankee Show, they'll see different episodes. And mine is under my name, Lee Paul. And anything we don't cover today on this radio interview, they'll be able to pick up on that program because we do go all over a lot of material. And I hope that I don't repeat all the same stories. But the story is, now I was in L.A., and the first thing that happened in L.A. was there was an earthquake, a major earthquake. I think it was 64 or 65, which was my welcoming moment at Los Angeles. And I followed the struggle that so many of young people who go to Hollywood follow. 4 or 5 million seem to come to Hollywood every year to become stars, and luckily 4.9 million leave, but that still leaves another 100 or 200,000 actors walking the streets looking for jobs. And it's always been tough, and it's even tougher now because there are more and more actors and less work, because the cable shows do reruns most of the time. Luckily, some of the big cable networks are now producing fresh product, and that's great. But in those days, the networks ruled everything, and it was tough. It was tough. But I studied in Hollywood with a very famous